Hello and welcome back. In this episode we will be looking at doing some knockback to our enemies, as you can see here, and to the player, and also work on the attack behavior of the zombie itself. So let's get into it. In our iDamageable, we will create a structure which we will use to give more data to the target. So what we damage, we will give more data. We will give it the data that we already sent, like with the int a damage, which is the damage that we will apply to the health. But we will also add a direction to it, so that we can know from what direction we will receive the knockback. So we add this int damage, and we will also add what we said before, the factor 2 of the hit direction. Because we don't have Unity the namespace here, we have to do the Unity engine.factor2, or we could say on the top using Unity engine, of course. But this works fine for now. And we change this damage, instead of taking int, we give it the damage data. This will throw errors, as you can see here. So let's just double click it, and it should take us to the place where it's wrong. So yeah, you can see that we still use int here, which should be now damage data. And instead of applying damage, we do the m damage from the a damage. The same is for crate, because we use as well here the damageable. And if we change that, that should all be fine. We only need to change the bullet itself, because now we just give the int, but we need to give the structure of data. So we can create a structure here, we call it damage data, call it damage, is equal to a new damage data object. And we can assign the values immediately here. So if we say m damage is equal to m damage, that will mean that the damage inside the structure is equal to the damage that we would normally apply from the bullet. And we can say that the direction is equal to the direction that the bullet is going towards. By doing this, everything should work fine, but we will change this thing by just right clicking it and changing the name to m hit direction, because that would make more sense than having a direction, because we don't know what this direction actually is. But if we know that this is the direction from the side that we are hit, then we immediately know how to apply the knockback effectively. Okay, let's go to the character and add functionality here that we need for the knockback. So we first add the serialized field here with private float for the knockback. So we call it m knockback force or value. No, let's just keep it force, because it's the force that we apply. Let's put it to 100. I know it seems really like a lot, but it will be fine. And we also use this bool m knocked and set it to false. We do this because we don't want to move around while we have been knocked, because that would make the knockback a bit strange, because you would try to move two directions at the same time. Like you would try to move backwards because of the knockback, and also towards your target direction. So apply this, we need a iNumerator. This is sort of a coroutine which will call this function on a separate thread, so that we can apply this, and in the meantime even as well call the same functionality that we already were doing. So we give it a factor 2 of the direction that we want to move towards, or be knocked towards, I should say. And here we can say start coroutine, give it that function name, and give it the value that we need, so the I damage and then hit direction. And close this. And that should be it. Yeah, inside here we say we can use the time for the return value. So we first copy this over and make it m knockback time, and set it to like 0.5. I think that a half a second is maybe a bit too much, but we will see that later. Okay, and here we can say yield return new wait for seconds. This will mean that this function will wait for a certain amount of seconds before it will continue, which is really nice, because that means that we don't have to use a timer for it, but we can just use this function. Okay, Unity has some problems compiling. Why is this throwing error? Did I do something wrong? I probably did. I most certainly did, because else it wouldn't say that we did something wrong. It looks correct. Maybe I did the wrong start coroutine or something. That's awkward. Let's just remove this for a bit and try to write it again. So coroutine, start coroutine. That looks the same. And fill in that function again. Look back and give it the time. The direction, I mean. That's really weird. Oh, yeah, I did liberate the ball and not liberator. Okay, so that's my bad. Oh well. That stuff sometimes happens. Not reading the shit correctly. Okay, let's add here a private rigid body, because we need the rigid body to apply a certain amount of force inside towards the direction. It will say here get component rigid body, so that we have it already catched beforehand, so we don't have to get it every time we want to knock back something. And now we can say add force here to the rigid. Add force, yes, towards the A direction. And we'll multiply this by the force that we had. And that should be fine. And now we can say here that we put the velocity equal to factor 2.0, which will mean that there is no velocity anymore. Because we don't use the physics movement, we only use transform movements normally. And we set knocked, true and false here. So if we go back to Unity, Unity is compiling, so this will probably take a bit of time. So let's first get started with the zombie attack maybe. So yeah, go to the zombie and we will create the damage value. So it's serialized field and we can do private float damage. It's equal to 5. Okay. And we create a private factor 2 move direction, because we need to fetch the direction that we're moving towards, just like what we use with the bullet, when we apply the direct hit direction to the damage values. We need to do the same for the zombie. So this is why we store that value instead of just using it in the update. We have to change it here because we forgot it. Okay. Yes. I think that should be it. Now we can just create that component. So we can do the same as we did here, which is copy this over. It's easy as it can get. And that we have to change those values a bit, but why doesn't this work? Because we used a float instead of an integer. I see. Okay, let's change it back to int. And because this is a collision enter, we have to do .gameObject in between these objects, because a collider and a collision are seen as completely different things in Unity, which makes sense because they do different things. The collision forces the other object to not enter, so it will sort of hit towards it, right? And the collider will just check if there has been a collision, so that they have been inside each other and overlapped. At least that's how I remember it. But let's just check out how it works. Yeah, okay, so you can see that for the player the knockback works, and we have an error because the transform, of course, for the zombie gets destroyed. We need to make sure that we do an if statement here. So if the transform is the target is not set anymore because it's destroyed, we have to return it. So if and target is equal to null, then we know that there is no target anymore, and we can say return, which should fix this error. Yeah, it's a bit annoying maybe, but it just has to happen because yeah, we just have to check for it It's because we don't want these errors ever in our game. Yeah, let's compile it. Okay, we get clear. And let's have a look. We set the damage to 2 because 5 is maybe a bit too much. Let's play it again. If it starts, it takes a long time. So yeah, that looks sort of correct and pretty cool. Okay, so that's the knockback in our game. Yeah, I think that will be it for this episode because it's rather long already. So I see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.